Welcome to Back to Basics. We're going to start on the floor, have a bolster, and have a strap handy. We'll be moving from the floor, doing some basic stuff with the shoulders and the hips. We'll be moving up through one kneeling position, so have something, maybe a blanket for the knees if you need it, and then up into standing. Do a few things in standing for our hips and our shoulders, and then we'll come back to the floor. All right, ready to go? So onto your back. If you need something just for under your head to make it easier, then go for it. And bring the legs over. Now I've got my legs moving vertically this way. You can also take your legs into a Baddha Konasana position. It's totally up to you where you want to place them. One thing to pay attention to though, as you're setting yourself up and moving from being on your back with your knees bent and then taking the legs over, is just notice what happens with your pelvis. And as you move, your pelvis moves into a big anterior tilt, or again either direction, because that will be an interesting awareness of how your legs move, yeah, and how your pelvis moves. So coming into this position, just feel and find your breath. And just notice how your breath feels for you today. Maybe you've woken up and you're joining me early in the morning. Maybe you are about to go to bed. Just notice how the environment of the time of day, how that's been with you. Maybe how your sleep was, how your day's been. Setting yourself up for an awareness, like a practice of awareness, a practice of more ease, a practice of better movement. All right, now from here, I'd like you to grab hold of your strap and then take the arms up to the sky. Now just with my arms and my mic, I might fade out when my left arm comes up here, so don't worry if you can't hear me. What we'll be doing is taking the arms over your head, and the idea is that you're moving your arm bone in the shoulder socket. Watch what your elbow does. Wherever your elbow starts, just allow yourself to move in that range where the elbow stays as it is. And if there's any clunking or clicking, maybe try moving in the range that doesn't have that. The furthest you'll go is alongside your ears. Pay attention to your ribs, and if you're wanting to overly grip in through the upper abdominal muscles to hold the ribs down, try to keep the ribs, just for fun, try to keep the ribs as they are without any abdominal like willful engagement, like I'm gonna make my ribs stay down. Like try for fun not to do that if you're doing it, and only move the arms as far as the rib stays quiet. And you'll get to see where your arms actually finish their range at the moment, and where your spine and your ribs want to kick in. Okay, lovely. Bring that down. Just rest your hands on your belly. Now take a look at your right hand and place your index finger and your thumb tip together on the right hand. Do the same thing on your left hand. Bend your elbows as if you're about to hug somebody. And then imagine you've got a thread between your fingers and you're pulling it wide as the arms come wide. The elbows are going to stay in the same angle orientation. What you're moving is your arm bone in your shoulder socket. Arm bone in your shoulder socket. Touch base with your breathing. And then bring your hands back to your belly. And now notice what you notice. Is there anything new or different? Now move your bottoms of your feet to the floor. Knees are bent. And let's take an ankle to the knee. So placing the hands on your pelvis, raising the leg up and taking that ankle on the knee by way of rotating the leg bone in the pelvis. So your pelvis is quiet as you do that motion from foot lifts up, rotate leg bone, ankle is placed. And then we start to move towards the left, or that's one way, that's the right actually for me, and then the other way. So we're going left and right, allowing for a gentle twist that's led by the pelvis. Your abdomen is what is controlling the movement. The front of your hips, your hip flexors, are quiet. A lot of times when we don't have that control through the abdomen, our hip flexors will want to kick in. And a lot of times it's just a matter of being aware. Like sometimes we just don't clue into that. So just notice the front of your hips. Okay, and let's take the ankle off the knee and let's bring the other ankle up onto the opposite knee. And then when you're ready, let's take that movement to the left and to the right. I have my hands in the creases of my hips, and that's just reminding me of where the control of movement is. My abdomen is what's controlling the movement. The hip flexors are what are quiet. I'm not willfully like, ooh, I'm anticipating the movement and I'm going to engage my abdomen. No, not that. As my pelvis as we go to the rotation, my pelvis starts to lift. The change of load causes my abdomen to respond. So I'm not actively activating anything. My body is responding to the load changes. Okay. Let's take that ankle off of the knee and then roll on over and coming up. We're going to be kneeling for just a moment. So if you need to grab something like a blanket for underneath your... That was just to wake you up and me. We're just going to be here for a moment. So if you need something underneath your knees, then go for it, okay? Let's take one leg out to the side. Now, I've got my toes pointing forward. I know lots of people who like to practice this with the toes out that way. Whatever is comfortable. And just be aware of what's going on up through here. Yeah? Watch your face, watch your eyes, and watch your breath. And then let's take ourselves into a side bend. Yeah? Imagine a big beach volleyball if that's helpful. And if you're feeling good through here, then you can start to move the arm up, maybe placing the hand to the shoulder, maybe taking it alongside the ear. It's, just pay attention, yeah? Good. And then come on back. Remembering this idea of if you practice in ease, you'll have more ease. And if you practice with tension, you'll get more of that. Okay, and now from here, bring it over. And that ease begets ease. Your brain might have something to say about that. You might have some thoughts about that. Just notice them. I love when I notice a thought. Okay, come back up. And then I feel tension or a closed down feeling that comes along with that thought. For me, I notice that then I know that's not really a true thought. Yeah. It becomes really interesting to be able to notice, because our brains can go all over the place, right? The proverbial monkey mind. And then up. So it's lovely to see and notice what I'm feeling, because it really lets me know. It lets me know. Okay, now from here we're coming up into standing. So on our way up here, and find your Tadasana, find your standing position. And let's feel the three bottoms, the 3 points on the bottom of your feet. Yeah, so center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe, right? So you're standing on a tripod. And just be aware of where your weight is. So you can maybe notice your weight's forward or your weight's back. Maybe your weight's more on the inside or the outside. Just notice what you're doing, like more what you're aware of. And then we'll see as we do a little bit of this practice, if that changes the orientation of where you're standing when we finish up. So let's bring a little bit of weight over to one leg and allow that leg to become a bit stronger as we take weight out of this other leg. Pelvis is staying relatively level. And we start to lift this leg through the hip, bringing the leg up. Okay, now do that again, and can you keep your attention on those 3 points of your feet? Good. And then other side. Okay, and then from there, weight comes over, rotating this leg bone, and initially bringing that foot up there, right? Watching that pelvis, the leg has been moving in the hip socket, yeah? And you can take the hands here. And then bringing that leg up a little higher if it's available. Only you know that, right? And then coming down. Yeah. And so we're here in this movement. Good. And then up, and then ankle comes off. Okay. Now we're going to rotate. So leg bone motion in the hip socket. And then up into tree. Now watch, like notice if this happened for you, right? That this happened, okay? So then rather than pushing it back in, because you've already come out, right? Is then let's see where you lose it. Okay, so you're here, maybe you've already started to lose it. So maybe you're I'm having a little trouble putting words together. Maybe your position is just here, gaining the coordination, gaining the neuromuscular patterning to be here. Good. You'll notice that I'm very purposefully not saying you need the strength. I'm not saying that, because in many cases, it's not actually a strength issue at all. I mean, in the result it is, but it's actually not about getting stronger, because you'll become stronger as you improve the neuromuscular communication. For a long time, watch this ankle, we're bringing it up above here. For a long time, we've known that those early stages of strengthening, when people start to add strength training to their activity level, is not about the muscle fibers, it's about the coordination and connection between the nervous system and the muscles. Only recently are they now figuring out what's actually happening, but it's not new knowledge. So when we improve neuromuscular communication and coordination, the result is more strength, but it's not necessarily what we thought. That's one of the reasons I focus and have focused so much on coordination patterns. Because really, it's not that you're weak, which is why you do that. I don't think anyway. I think it's more about coordination. Because people make changes very, very, very fast. Yeah? So the more we can have our brains and our tissue talking in the way that they're designed to, then the better. Yeah. Then you'll feel stronger. Yeah. You'll have a nice foundation to build from. All right, now watch my leg. We're going to move into eagle. So watch that leg. I've just rotated it and then slid it over. Good. And I've added a little wobble there. And now we can take this arm. So it's this leg that's up. So this leg arm comes under. You're probably going to lose me as my arms come across. And then unfold and come on up. So notice when you're all hooked up there, just notice where you feel your feet. Notice the level of ease. Notice if you're just kind of gripping and holding and bracing. Just notice whatever it is you're doing. Okay? All right, one more here. You might be staying right in this position, right? And then taking on up and here. Good. And cross. This leg is on top, this arm on bottom. Unfold. Here we are. Good. All right. I'm going to turn this way for you. I'm going to do a high lunge. Press that heel back. Feel those 3 points on your feet. The front leg, you can feel them on the floor. The back one, you're feeling the front two on the floor. Feel the heel in space. Bring your arms on up into cactus, pressing that heel back. And then arms come on up towards the sky. And then we're going to spin around, do the same thing. Arms come up, cowboy surrender. Thinking about that heel pressing back. And if it's available, bring the arms up overhead. You can absolutely stay in cowboy surrender or hands on your hips. It's totally up to you. The arms and the shoulders and the SI joint, the sacrum and the pelvis are so connected. All right, nice. And whoop, rolling over. Okay, our legs are wide right now. So let's just move into a rotation. Leg bone are moving in the hips and we come on down. Great. Feeling the center of the heel, the ball of the foot, and the base of the pinky toe. Super easy here. Take the hands to the outside of the thighs. Press those thighs into the hands. It's always interesting to feel the orientation on the feet when we do that. So come back up again. Take the hands on the outsides of the thighs again. Press the thighs into the hands. Notice what happens with your feet. In some cases, those of you who tend to overpronate, you'll feel the arches lift as you move the legs into your hands. Good. And then up you come. Good. Rotate the legs back and come back to standing. Feel those feet. Let's take a side bend. And a side bend. Great. Okay, and then come on back. Now remember, if you can, from when you first came up to standing, you were noticing the tripod, center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe. And Do you feel anything new or different? Is your weight more forward, more back, more to the side, more to the inside? Is there a different feeling on the inside of your body? Alrighty, let's come down to the floor. We're going to do a simple bridge pose. Onto your back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Notice the center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe. Notice the leg bones in the pelvis, and let's lift up. So the orientation of ribs and pelvis are connected. By doing this really simple bridge pose, I'm not doing any undulating. I'm doing that on purpose. Doesn't make undulating bad, this idea of rolling through the spine. That's an absolutely perfectly fine movement. I'm just not teaching that right now. The pelvis and the ribs cage are connected, and then up you go. We generate the movement through extension of the hip. And so that's where the glutes and the hamstrings come in. And what's interesting is to notice if you want to come around the bottom of your ribs like this, and think about how this is a movement of not only hips, but also shoulders. So watch my rib cage. As I lift, it's coming around this shoulder joint, right? So I speak a lot about the hips because that's really the force generation. But when we keep the connection between the pelvis and the ribs, we can also slowly but surely help the tissue to soften up and release and re-coordinate itself, if I can use that word, so that we move around those shoulder joints. Just be aware of your breathing as you do it. Lovely. Okay, so now from here, let's take one leg in toward your belly. Hold on to the leg. And then start to straighten the knee. You might not make it straight, but just move that foot towards the sky. And then bring that leg down. And then other leg comes up. Settling into your breathing. That leg comes back down. Let's bring the knee back to your belly. And then straighten through the other leg. You can even put the bolster under your leg if you want to. And then if you want to add a twist, then take the opposite hand to the thigh and move into that twist. Shoulder is staying on the floor as you move. And then coming on back and switch it up. Foot comes back to the floor. And then bring it back up. Lovely. Okay, so now let the legs rest out. In Shavasana, maybe place the bolster back under your legs, or you can be in Baddha Konasana. But noticing your breathing, inhale and exhale. And notice and feel what it is that you feel through your body and your mind. Being aware of your feet and your legs. Your pelvis, your torso. Your shoulders right down through your elbows and your hands. Your neck and your face and your head. Feel your breath. And you can stay in this position for as long as you would like. When you're ready, just take a few breaths before transitioning on to the rest of your day. Bringing your hands together and breathing in with ease and out with gratitude. Namaste. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Take good care.